Hello and welcome to LimeWedgeLoej's Wildcard Week playoff picks. This is your 2015 playoff bracket. For the next week, I plan on having a little bit something different instead of me just recording the playoff machine like I've been doing. But for this week, it has all of the game matchups right here on the screen, so I'm going to go with it. So, a lot happened in week 17 that allowed for this setup to happen like it did. And one of those things is the fact that the New York Jets pulled a Jets like moment and lost. I know that's heartbreaking for all the Jets fans out there. You know, you can't see that coming. The Patriots went out there trying to win, lost to the Dolphins. The Bengals were scared by the Ravens, who knocked off Pittsburgh the week before. Pittsburgh almost choked against the Browns. As far as the drama between the Colts and the Texans, there was none. Like I said, there's like 10 different things. The Eagles won, but Chip Kelly was already gone. There was quite a few firings, but that would be a time for another video if I decided to make one about all the firings. For this video, the Chiefs still look good. The Panthers got back on top. The Cardinals were crushed by the Seahawks. And I mean crushed. And a game that I didn't expect, the Vikings beat the Packers. It was a wild, wild week for week 17 to end the playoffs. And that will completely change my playoffs. Because I never in a million years imagined Denver getting the 1 seed. Didn't think Arizona would lose to Seattle. Didn't think Minnesota would lose at Green Bay. I knew it was all possible, but I really didn't think it was going to happen. So we've got our playoffs the way we do now. And, sorry, Jets fans, I really think you deserve to be in the playoffs, say more than the Texans or the Redskins, but that's the way the playoffs are set up. First is the Steelers at Bengals. This game is a toss-up. Anytime you get a divisional game in the playoffs, it's a toss-up. The Steelers and Bengals are two teams that flat out do not like each other. I read an article about A.J. McCarron, who's almost certainly going to be starting for the Bengals, got a souvenir from Ben Roethlisberger after a game when Ben Roethlisberger quarterbacked Miami of Ohio. I think it was the last game he played. So that's neat to have A.J. McCarron face Ben Roethlisberger for the second time. The question now is, can the Bengals overcome the Steelers? The Steelers are a turnover-happy team. If they lose, it's going to be against a stout defense that just completely is able to force them to turn the ball over. But the Bengals have not won a playoff game in what seems like an eternity. For this game, I think the Steelers are going to win it. I hope the Bengals can get off their snide, because you hate to see a team do so well in the regular season and then fail so horribly in the postseason. Kansas City at Houston. Kansas City has like the longest winning streak entering the playoffs. Houston barely got here. Given if J.J. Watt can get up in there and really just disrupt Alex Smith, he can force him to make mistakes. But J.J. Watt is mainly the only person you're scared of on the Texans team. Most people can't name any other people on the team. Also, who's Houston's quarterback? Exactly. It's not one of the names that pop into your head. Every other team on this list, instantly you can say who the quarterback is. Manning, Brady, Roethlisberger, even McCarron, because you got so much publicity since Dalton's out. Alex Smith, the Texans, Cam Newton, Carson Palmer, Russell Wilson, Teddy Bridgewater, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. So with that, I think both the 5 and the 6 seeds still win. Pittsburgh goes to Denver. Kansas City goes to New England. First, the Pittsburgh fans will remember the year that they had to go to Denver, and Tebow Mania was running wild, and the Broncos upset the Steelers. Well, they've got a little bit more magic left in them. It's not the same magic as Tebow magic, but it's the Santa Claus magic. You know how Santa Claus never ages? Well, Peyton Manning, seems to go on forever. Peyton Manning is rested, and that is possibly the most dangerous thing in these playoffs, is Peyton Manning seemingly healthy and seemingly well rested. No team in the AFC wanted that. So for that, I'm going to give it to Denver. And then there's Kansas City at New England. Given they're going to have a week off, if there is any coach in the league whoever coached in the league that can prepare a team in a week and have them turn them completely around, it's Bill Belichick. That being said, the Patriots have looked bad in the past couple weeks. If I wouldn't have picked Kansas City normally, that is enough reason to pick Kansas City. That will lead up to a divisional game with the Chiefs and the Broncos in the AFC Championship game in Denver. And we have another rivalry game, an AFC West Chiefs and Broncos. I'm going to save that until after I come back from the NFC just to do a little bit more drama for the playoffs. It's going to be an interesting game because Denver with Peyton Manning versus the Chiefs, which will have won, I believe it's like 12 games in a row at this point or something ridiculous like that. In the NFC, Seattle at Minnesota. Minnesota overcame Green Bay in a game, but as far as them moving on, it might have been better for them if they didn't. Seattle has already went to Minnesota once this year, and they just beat up the Vikings. I think the Vikings will keep it closer, but you saw what Seattle did to Arizona, who was a lot of people's Super Bowl favorites. You could give me 10-1 odds for the Vikings over the Seahawks, and I'd probably still pick the Seahawks. The Packers at the Redskins. I want to just come out and say, oh, Green Bay, blah, 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 blah. But Kirk Cousins is playing some good football. And the Green Bay Packers aren't exactly at their high level, and they're not at home. They have to go to Washington. That being said, it's Aaron Rodgers versus Kirk Cousins. Washington can upset them, but I think it's going to be Green Bay. Having both wildcards win again. That'll send Seattle to Carolina and Green Bay to Arizona. Which isn't really fair. It's supposed to be, the worst team goes to the best team. Seattle's not the worst team in the NFC. They're not. They're possibly the second best team in the NFC, if not second, third. But Seattle at Carolina. At this point, the Carolina fan inside me wants to be like, oh, Seattle's already lost to Carolina once this year. What's the difference? The difference is the way Seattle's playing. Seattle is playing a lot better than they were before. But I still stand by everything that Seattle does, Carolina does it better. Now it's a matter of which Carolina team will come out to play. Will it be the one that let teams hang around and hang around and hang around? If they do that with Seattle, they're going to lose. It's not going to be a low-scoring affair like with Atlanta. They're just going to flat out lose. But they've only not showed up for one game this year, and that was at Atlanta. So I'm going to say Carolina's going to finish the deal in that one. Then Green Bay at Arizona. You remember the 2 weeks before, or 3 weeks somewhere in there? Didn't Arizona whip Green Bay? I'm not that crazy, because, that one's that. Yeah, the week before. I knew I wasn't crazy. The number 1 week before, Arizona whipped Green Bay, and then gets whipped by Seattle. Using that logic, Seattle's the best, or Carolina's the best team, Seattle's the second best team, Arizona's the third best team, and then Minnesota, Green Bay, Washington, however you want to put it, because such and such, 1 beat 2, 2 beats 3, 3 beats 4, 4 beats 1, it's crazy. Something in that mentality. But I think that the Packers will make it a lot closer game, but ultimately Arizona will win, leaving Arizona at Carolina as many people thought. And I'm not saying Carolina's going to do to Arizona what Seattle did, but as you remember me saying about a minute ago, everything that Seattle does, Carolina does it better. With that in mind, Carolina should win this game comfortably, sending Carolina to the Super Bowl. Now that I've bought myself some more time to think about Denver versus Kansas City, it's gotta be Peyton Manning. It's just gotta be. He's Peyton Manning. That's what he does. That's what he does. The only person that you put against Peyton Manning and you say, oh, well, he's not going to win, is Tom Brady. Because Tom Brady has just got a crazy winning record against Peyton Manning. So that will set up Denver and Carolina in the Super Bowl. For this prediction, all you have to do is rush Peyton Manning. You just really have to put him up against just a stout defense where he has no time. Sure, Denver's defense will give Carolina's offense a lot of trouble, but I think Carolina's defense will give Peyton Manning more trouble than Denver's defense will Carolina. Because whereas Denver's offense is more or less reliant on the quarterback, Peyton Manning will run, throw, hand the ball off, just absolutely flying over the line of scrimmage. Right now, Carolina is my favorite to win the Super Bowl, and they're my prediction. For Carolina to lose the Super Bowl, one of two things has to happen. Cam Newton has to get himself injured. That's one of the big things. Even if he does get injured, Anderson is a solid quarterback. And then we also have Joe Webb, who is an excellent special teams player right now. So we've got 3 competent quarterbacks on our roster. But if Newton goes down, the Panthers won't be anyone's favorite going into any of the games. Number 2, if Carolina decides to take the week off, they are known to choke in the playoffs. Carolina fans will remember all too bad. They got the 2nd seed. This was a few years ago. 2nd seed in the NFC. A home playoff game. A bye. And Arizona comes in and kicks their butts. And I'm just sitting here like I don't even want to watch this game. That's just so sickening. I don't even want to watch it. That's the year Arizona went to the Super Bowl. So Arizona was clearly, the team to beat in the NFC, but that one hurt. And if we go out in the first round, the first playoff game we play, that's going to hurt so bad. But anyway, if you agree with my predictions, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you disagree, who's your Super Bowl pick? Do you think that Carolina is going to go down to Seattle or Arizona? Do you think that the Patriots are going to get their act together? Do you think the Bengals will finally get their act together in the playoffs? Will everyone's mind be blown by Houston and Washington meeting up in the playoffs? Seriously, if Houston and Washington both make it to the Super Bowl, it's just go ahead and write up the end of the world, because it's the end of the world. That's pretty much it. Anyway, I am the Great and Mighty LimeWedgeLoej. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I wish your team good luck this weekend, unless they're playing my team. In which case, I'm sorry. Anyway, it's going to be an interesting wildcard weekend. Buckle up your seatbelts, everybody. It's going to get interesting.